Okay, everybody, welcome to another episode of Metabolic Radio, where you're getting more bonus Q&As. Your hosts, Taylor Empey, that's me, and Shane Pace. Did you ever see the Lego Batman movie?
You know, I never did.
Oh,
Sadly.
it's so funny. It's
No,
actually like, for any of you listening and you think that's stupid because it's a kid film, it actually
it's
has
glorious.
a lot of really good, like,
I've seen
clean
bits.
adult jokes that, like, keep you entertained the whole time. I've seen it twice. And that's where that came from. Pew, pew, pew.
Big yawn. I was gonna say I've seen bits, but I have not seen the whole movie.
So,
I find
anyway, unrelated, but yeah, check it out. So,
I was gonna turn off my video just because I can.
don't.
I didn't,
Yeah, don't.
and then I was gonna mute my
People on
microphone.
YouTube may want to watch and see your hideous face.
Oh wow! Hold on, I got it sitting around here somewhere. Turd bag. Here, I'll mute myself so I.
What'd you say? Oh, you cut the mic off, man.
I know I did it on purpose.
I apologize, people.
I was
on
just
the audio.
playing.
So, Q&As today. All right. First one is coming from Brian. All right, Brian. I don't have a last name for you, so this could be any Brian in the world.
Ooh, we're gonna talk about this one.
Yeah, this
I
one.
don't.
Yeah.
I have not decided how big I'm gonna go on this. Okay, keep going.
So he said, I just heard your podcast and I was extremely interested in what you guys had to say. I have been working out for about 2 years now and completely changed my diet and lifestyle. I'm currently 24 years old, 5'10", and 185 pounds, and I started at 140. That actually sounds really similar to me, except I'm a few years older, but we're really close. I have recently been thinking
He's
about
probably a little bit heavier.
like 10 pounds heavier than I am now, but I got
Yep.
up as heavy as 185 when I started at about 140, and I'm the same height. But I
Right.
don't know if he's an ectomorph like me.
I would lay money he is.
I have recently been thinking about going to prohormones, but not sure the best way to take them or which ones to take between Andro 1 or Andro 4 or DHEA. I searched for an episode on it, but I couldn't find anything specific on prohormones. Was hoping that you could help point me in the right direction. So I'm gonna say right off the bat, I'm not super well versed in prohormones, and even if I was, there is potential risk with it.
We'll
that
talk
I'm
about
not-
that in more detail. Keep going.
Yeah, and you can go off on yours in a second here.
Oh, I will.
So me personally, I would not point you in any direction besides potentially DHEA or vitamin D3, which actually is not a vitamin. It is a prohormone that is converted into an anabolic testosterone form that, if taken in safe higher super doses, can be substantial in elevating natural testosterone. And we can also I would like to talk about how to elevate natural testosterone through diet before even going towards prohormones.
Wow, we're on the same page. That was going through my head.
So, I mean, man, like do I think that prohormones and steroids should be available and not illegal? And not prohormones aren't illegal necessarily, but
Pro
right-
hormones. Okay, I want to clarify that. Pro
Real-
hormones are not illegal at
That's
all.
what I said. Yeah, but
Yeah, they aren't.
but you know, anabolic steroids are without a prescription, or HRT, so I think that people should have the right to have access to those under certain circumstances and through a clinic or their doctor. I think that's totally fine. I'm not going to sit here and tell you which ones you should take. So that's not going to come from me, just because it's not my scope of practice, and I don't think it's safe. I think there's a lot of other ways that you as a 24-year-old can maximize developing your natural testosterone through diet first and training techniques. And then if you really have an actual hormone imbalance, don't go towards prohormones, go to a legitimate hormone replacement therapy clinic and get tested
that's
to
fair
see
anyway.
if you can actually get a legal prescription in the right dosing to get your levels to where you need them. And that's what I would first recommend. So Shane, what were you going to say?
All right, how far do I want to go on this first? Do you want me to start slow, or do you want to go bigger? Because I want to go big on this.
Give him the answer you want to give him. And then
All right,
I'll
so
talk
here's
about ways to elevate through diet.
well, I'd almost want to start about talking about that first. Wow, look at you moving all over the place.
Sorry, I dropped something.
No, it's all good. So let's start off and say that DHEA is where 1-andro and 4-andro technically originate from. They are true prohormone, and they are predecessors. They convert to 1-andro converts to one test is what it does when the body naturally converts it. The reason why it is a prohormone and not a steroid is because of how it reacts in the body. A steroid or testosterone or anything along those lines, what the difference between this and that and the way that it happens is that actually puts a actual raised testosterone directly from the ejection, usually in this case, which prohormones do not. It is not bringing in it is not testosterone that is being put into the body. The body converts it, and that's the difference, and that's the reason why that. So let's talk some of the risks, and this is one of the things that I think people need to understand before they even touch it. So actually, before we get to that point, let's talk about the legalities. So since Taylor brought that up, my personal belief is it is absolutely ridiculous that the government is banning something that is because of it is an enhancer. I don't see that as a problem. I think that they overreacted to that. Most of the reasons why they banned it stemmed from performances in sports, and I think that's ridiculous that the government's involved at all in that category. I think that professional athletes should be restricted based on their actual organizations, not by a government. I think that's absolutely the word is asinine because of the nature of it. Who cares overall? Now, if it was out doing these really nasty things to people, that would make sense, but it doesn't. There is very little evidence that it does all these nasty things. At high dosage levels, steroids will cause things like heart issues at that point. But the irony is, steroids used even semi-intelligently leans towards actual more of a healthier heart. Mm-hmm. And the reason why bodybuilders are having problems, in my opinion, and from my studies, dealing with these kinds of things, they have issues because they are excessive. They use extreme amounts, and they use multiple things at the same time, like insulin, which is a massive thing that they should not be touching because it will kill them if it is used incorrectly. And the risk is incredible when you start to add insulin to someone who's a healthy person. But those kinds of things is the reason why the issues. Now, do they have heart attacks? Absolutely. But you got to take all those things into perspective, and it doesn't correspond as cleanly as people think that it does. And so that's why it bothers me so much. My belief is education on this stuff should be an important requirement to be able to take it. Do I think that a doctor should be involved? Absolutely. And here's the reason why on that note is because, like you were talking about, you go to those specialists, and what are they going to do? They're going to test you. They're going to send your blood off to labs. You're going to have an idea of what's going on internally. When they're doing their blood tests, it will give a pretty good idea if you're potentially raising risk of cancers, because you can get those dealing with this kind of things. They don't automatically cause cancer at all. I want to make that clear up front, but they will expedite the speed of it and make them so they'll grow substantially faster if you already have a cancer cell set up where your body's not dealing with it. So that's a reason to stay away from it without question. But I think without question, you have to have your labs done. Do you need a doctor to have labs done? No. Do you? Is it going to be beneficial?
Well, yeah, you need. I mean, to get the blood drawn, you need a doctor to give you basically the prescription for the labs. But going to any simple HRT clinic will allow for that, and they usually have a lab on site.
That is true. Or they'll send it off to a lab like mine, places that I've gone, LabCorp.
I was literally at LabCorp 2 days ago because I haven't gotten my blood work done in like 18 months, and I got it done. I get it done every year, and basically like I went to an HRT clinic to get it drawn because they're more open-minded to running different panels versus some physicians are very closed-minded about it. And so I'm like, hey, look, I just want to see where all my levels are. This is something I monitor. I've monitored for 6 years. I want to run this. And they were like, okay, cool. So then I ran up to the lab and got my blood drawn. And I'm waiting for my results just to monitor and see where I'm at. Right. I got thyroid checked. I got cortisol checked. Even though I don't believe I'm at risk for diabetes, I got my A1Cs and my glucose insulin tolerance checked, my complete metabolic panel, my CMP, and my testosterone, and so I mean, you still need the prescription to get it
estradiol?
done. Estradiol is going to get checked, and
DHT.
yep, and my DHEAs, and so.
Well, DHT. So here's some things that you want to understand too. DHT. So let's talk about if you were on them. Okay, first off, before we go on beyond, I should say first off because we're in the middle of this, but before we move past this, if they're not, if you are on TRT, as an example, or if you're doing a prohormone and you get your labs done, you want to have not just your free test. You don't want to have just your overall testosterone. You definitely want to have estradiol checked because that's dealing with your estrogen levels, and you want to have DHT checked because that is something that the body will convert it to as well, which is where you get your male pattern baldness. And a few other defects, but you'll have other reactions that you don't want to have. If your DHT levels go up too much, that's a bad thing. If your estradiol goes up as a man substantially, that's a bad thing. And so you want to get those things checked. A lot of doctors don't.
Yeah, and that's where that's what I try to tell people is like, look, one, even if you're not considering taking prohormones or steroids, or any kind of black market stuff, right? Like, you should still monitor your blood panel levels every year as you get your physical done. Many of them are covered by insurance, depending on your age, and the other ones can get expensive, but sometimes often aren't. The most I've ever spent on blood panels was like $99 to run all these different tests. Insurance
will cover even with your age. Insurance will cover a blood panel.
It depends on what it is.
It'll
company.
That is true, but it'll usually cover pretty much your blood panels, no matter what, because you have potential of catching a whole different slew of things.
Well, and it depends on how they code it, because insurance is a whole other science.
That's
what they almost always will cover is a cholesterol and any cardiovascular check, C-reactive protein, cholesterol levels, that kind of thing, and usually a CMP, a complete metabolic panel. And then if you want to get things like estrogen and testosterone checked, like usually you have to be an older adult in order to do that, because that's where they start to see those decline.
That's true. That's true to an extent.
For the only to cover it.
Okay. So that's partially true. So the reality of it is, though, if you can get tested, insurance will start covering things like TRT if you're below 300. In your numbers,
but it depends on the company and how much you pay and what your coverage is.
If you're below 250, almost any company will cover it. I don't care how old you are. But you're right on that. Getting to that point, though, is not what they're expecting. So what's your concept is I'm not arguing with you. I'm just saying that's the truth of it. When you're below a certain percentage, certain number, because that means your testosterone is decreased dramatically in general. The funny thing is they say that it's a drop, which I'm not saying it's not, but there hasn't been a lot of studies on this over the course of the years. It's a fairly new science. And so they have a line in the sand that they've kind of made recently, and I think that's hilarious. But that's another story. Let's see what I want to cover before we get past it again. Still,
how to naturally elevate testosterone through diet.
No, I'm not there yet. So
okay.
because we were going to talk about pros before I got out of it. So here's the thing with prohormones, especially with your age range that you're talking about. My personal belief. Unless, again, if you're a competitive bodybuilder, if you're going to do it, you might as well go real. The only reason why I recommend doing prohormones is because if you're trying to stay,
you might as well do what? Go real.
Go real. I mean, if you're going to do it, because it's safer to use testosterone. Steroids. Testosterone.
I would only recommend doing it in a legal way.
I'm not denying that. I'm just saying if you're going to go that way. Statistically speaking, it's safer to use that.
Yeah.
Now, granted, I'm not recommending anybody go illegal because I don't go illegal myself. Yeah. I never would.
We are not telling you to buy drugs, people.
Nope. And I'm definitely not selling them. So, that being said, that's why I'm saying what I am, which is if you're going to do that, most bodybuilders are doing stuff that isn't legal. Let's be real. They may have.
It runs rampant. I can name a bunch of people off of the top of my head right now that I know personally that I've seen their stuff in their fridge. You know what I mean? Like,
Absolutely.
so
Absolutely.
it's all over the place.
You know,
especially in the competing world, unless you're NGA.
Absolutely, and even then, it's questionable, in my opinion. They only test a certain percentage of them. But that all being said, pro hormones you can do safely if you do them correctly. But I still wouldn't do it until you're over the age of at least 21. That being said, again, I would still recommend 25 or above.
Yeah, I'd wait till 25, 26.
Because your hormones don't really settle into their point until they're around that age group.
Mm-hmm.
And then they won't be as damaged as much. You really want to look into OCT and PCT, which is on cycle therapy and post cycle therapy, and understand it completely before you go into this, because the reality of it is you can do a lot of damage on your hormones. That's why I want to talk risks as well before we went on to the natural stuff, because when we do that, I want to kind of wind down on those. That's the stuff I really am more focused on, especially at this age. But the reality of it is, can you do it safely? You can. It's much more difficult because the honest truth is, you do a pro hormone once, it may ruin your hormones for life.
Yep.
And you don't know it until it's done.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, and that's really what it comes down to, is it's like, okay, what is the cost benefit ratio here? Like the risk reward that you're looking at. And it's like, okay, you want to do it. Get legit help and learn how to do it. Don't just buy cheap crap that you don't even know what you're taking and putting it in your body. Go to an HRT clinic, get a legitimate doctor who knows what they're doing in that realm to work with you. They'll teach you about how it works. They'll cycle you properly. They'll help you develop your best natural potential with minimal risk. Like, it's just the better way to go, in my opinion, if you're going to go that route.
The problem is, I mean, again, being honest and straight up about this, we don't want to mislead anybody on this. You're not going to get therapy unless you're under a certain number. They're not going to do it.
No, correct.
And they'll do
there
blood
are
panels.
some clinicians that are far more liberal than
Agreed.
Than
and
others.
it depends on where you are in the United States.
Yeah.
All that being said, I personally would tell you not to do them. If you do them, like I said, do them intelligently. But when you start talking about this stuff, you're really messing with it, with the endocrine system. I mean, you're jacking with everything in your body, and it changes how your body's going to react. Now, I don't want to skip this, even though you didn't bring it up, but I do want to explain, not extremes, but I want to explain something that we've talked about before. I personally think that they need to be studied more openly. But SARMs, because SARMs are tied to this to an extent. They're different. They attach to a certain receptors, and but the concept behind them is similar in the nature of this. But do I recommend SARMs? I don't recommend SARMs either. For one, in all honesty, they're not legal. People can buy them legally online. Don't get me wrong. You can buy them, you can purchase them. But if you understand the nature of how they're set up, they are a research chemical that is not for human consumption, which means technically speaking, you cannot do research unless it is specifically set aside by something related to the government. They're not legal. They're not legal to take. They're legal to buy potentially by a creative way of buying them, but they are not legal to take. And people need to understand that. I'm going to tell you right now, again, full disclosure, I have played with SARMs myself. They have done amazing things for that shoulder that I've had a problem with. The pain went away completely when I was on them. But at that point, I could buy them across the counter, and I didn't think that they were illegal to take. So I don't recommend them. Same scenario of what Taylor was saying before when I brought up the idea of taking the roids. The reality is, that's on you guys. Do what you're going to do to yourself, but it may be safer, but I still lean towards legal. I don't want somebody to go to prison on anything I would ever recommend. And so
that's the reality. Is you got to understand, you're talking about something that's being treated like a class 1 drug. and
It
you will
is.
be charged with possession of that drug if
That's
if you're caught
absolutely
with it. So
absolutely. Steroids are in that what do they call them? It's not a class. It starts with an S.
I can't remember.
It doesn't matter. Same
You know what I'm
concept.
talking about.
Yeah, it's the same class concept. So it is a level 1. That is what they are classified as, and I think it's absolutely ridiculous and asinine, but it is.
But it's the law.
That is the world we live in, right?
Yeah.
And on a worldwide level, outside the United States, almost nowhere is illegal, and so that's the reason why you got to understand that. You may live someplace it is legal. In that case, go for it, whatever. But I would still do it safely.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I want, like I said, I wanted to clarify that. Now, at that point, I mean, if Taylor wants to talk about this in more depth, I'm sure he doesn't. But we can, because yeah, could I go into this a lot deeper? Absolutely. I know quite a bit about a lot of this stuff, but it's something that I studied quite a bit because I just don't want to ever be in a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
But that all being said, on the natural side, if you raise your cholesterol intake, that actually is one of the things that the body uses to produce testosterone, and that alone should actually raise your testosterone.
Yeah.
If you eat steak specifically, there's a lot of correlation with steak and testosterone. There's actually been studies related to this. People that eat steaks directly, the testosterone level goes up in studies. And so eat steak and it will raise your testosterone levels. That's just that is statistically that has been proven. So, there's definitely things you can do. But like I said, cholesterol, in fact, Ben brought it up in one of the discussions he was bringing up, the fact that cholesterol does that. And he's absolutely correct. So that's something that I think that should be brought up on this level of this. And my personal belief is, especially when you're in your early to even late 20s, I think it's ridiculous unless you're completely planning on competing to look at taking any of that stuff. As a competitor at a high level, you will have to be on them
If you want to compete effectively.
Well, that's what I said, at a high level, because
Yeah.
they can't compete at a high level if they're not.
Yeah.
Anybody who claims they're at a high level and they're not taking it, they're lying.
Just know there's not a lot of money in bodybuilding, even with
Absolutely true.
sponsorships and
Absolutely true.
affiliate stuff. So if you
Absolutely
have this,
true.
I'm just going to be honest, if you have this dream of being like this high roller bodybuilder, just know you're not going to necessarily like make as much money as you think.
Right.
But if you just want to do it because it's your choice and because it's fun, then, more power to you.
That's what I was going to say. More power to you, because that's, it's your body. It's not mine. And we just want you guys to be safe.
Yep. Let's do a couple quick things on elevating natural testosterone levels through food, but then we'll wrap it up, okay?
Can I lie for a minute?
Lie? Sure.
Absolutely. So
Yes.
take Tribulus. Take a lot of Tribulus, because Tribulus has been proven to not do. I mean, wait, that's true. I was lying for a minute there.
Don't bother with Tribulus.
I was trying to lie, and then I caught myself because I just didn't feel right about lying all the way. So Trib is something that people think does. It does not. Ashwagandha has been shown to actually do it in some studies. I don't know how much.
Isn't that always also under the name of ginseng? Or is
No.
that separate? I forgot.
That's separate.
Okay.
It's different. Ginseng is another one that has a tendency to be used in that direction. Most of these are not boosting testosterone; they're raising libido, and almost every one of them does that. So, Tribulus has been found to, at least according to the people that I know, Tribulus actually, when they've been studied, when they come off of gear, the real stuff, they using Tribulus and things like that in conjunction with others in combination does seem to boost it, but that's because they have to get their body to reproduce their testosterone, because they killed it. And so when they're doing post cycle stuff, yeah, that works, but to an extent. But for a normal person, it doesn't work at all. Horny goat weed, I don't believe does. Which is called epimedium. on a more clinical level. But horny goat weed is something else that people talk about, not so much. The thing that you got to understand, though, again, is let's say you're on TRT, since you brought that up. If you take, let me think what the best ones are for it. There's actually 3 of them that I would recommend somebody takes, because what it does is it binds in such a way that you won't have a reaction from DHT, and you won't go your estrogen levels won't start to spike. I'll have to get back to you because I don't want to misquote it. And right now, it's not popping into my head. I do know that, but I can't remember why it's not jumping out of my head right now. It's probably because we talked about it off air, but I'm burned out from the heat of the day. But most of that stuff doesn't. Now, let me tell you something that you may want to go research this in more detail, Taylor. But DHEA, diaspartic acid.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Diaspartic acid raises estrogen levels. Okay, well, it doesn't just work with testosterone. It has been found in studies to raise testosterone, but it also raises estrogen in the same way. So when you take it, you don't know which way that's going to go in your body. But does it? It has absolutely been proven to do it. Again, I think it's just like with zinc, which we haven't brought up in this one. We have before. We've talked about this a little bit before, but I'm kind of going a different direction because I've read some stuff since. But zinc, if it's low, if you even it out, your testosterone will increase. Magnesium is very similar in that, but only if you're deficient. If you're not deficient, it doesn't affect you in a positive way in that way at all. Most of the stuff that has been found to boost testosterone is when your body is evened out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go for it.
Some other things, like I was going to bring up the zinc thing. You covered that. Appropriate amount of sleep.
Sleep
8 to 9
does
hours,
for sure.
8 to
Absolutely.
9
Exercise
hours if people
too.
need it. REM and deep sleep will get you a regeneration of more of your natural testosterone levels.
Correct. Correct.
The vitamin D3, which is a safe, I would say it's a safe prohormone to take.
Yep. Absolutely, it is.
Even in the recommended dosing is 400 IUs
Just
up to
ridiculously
2,000.
low.
Yeah. In order to gain the testosterone gaining benefits, you would have to do what's considered super dosing. It is sold in as high as I've seen 10,000 IU capsules.
Yep.
Just give your doctor a little, pop them a question real quick.
I would.
But it's been shown to be a very safe way to increase strength and testosterone.
Well, you were the one that was talking about the 40,000 from somebody that you knew, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. He had severe vitamin D deficiency, though.
Right, but
And I'm
that being safe.
Slightly deficient, so I take about 5,000 a day.
See, and I'm going to tell you right now that everybody doesn't spend all day in the sun is deficient in vitamin D.
Yes. Mm-hmm. If you're basically a few 100,000 or 1,000 miles away from the equator, you're probably deficient in D.
Absolutely. Vitamin K is something else that you need to look at in more depth.
Oh, yeah. Other things, healthy fats, omega-3, some saturated fat and monounsaturated fat, cholesterol, like you talked about, converts directly into an anabolic hormone.
Yep.
So egg yolks, this is the whole classic steak and eggs, kind of mindset. Red meats, creatine.
Which works.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep.
Cruciferous vegetables like cauliflower and broccoli.
Yep.
Your greens are going to have more zinc if you are deficient. And those would be kind of the main cornerstones for nutrition for increasing testosterone that you could look at incorporating into your diet.
I'm being attacked.
Oh.
Silly dog. But yeah, no, you're right on all that. So like I said, there's Tonkat Ali is one of the ones I was talking about that actually will deal with the blocking from if you're on TRT. Fenugreek is another one.
Uh-huh.
Gosh dang it, I keep wanting to say saw, and that's not. Saw palmetto is not. That helps with other things. There's one other one. Oh, for the love of nettle.
Stinging nettle.
Yeah, those are the three. Those are the three that I would recommend someone that's on TRT take because it controls DHT and it controls estradiol.
Mm-hmm.
So, but like I said, there's a lot to this that people need to understand, and if you go down the healthy road and you just try to get yourself balanced, it's going to be a better effect overall, and you're going to be more healthy. And bluntly, and again, unless you have a desire to compete on a large level, which a lot of those people understand are blowing out their health. They're because they're extremists, and being an extremist, that's where they start to have a lot of their problems, and that's why a lot of people that have been on bodybuilders stages will even die on stage. I mean, because of the stuff they're taking.
Who's died on stage?
Oh, I'd have to look the names up, dude. I know of a couple of them, but I can't remember their names.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. There was a guy who actually took an insulin shot backstage and dropped dead right after he took it.
Oh yeah, that'll kill you if you don't do it right.
Oh yeah. So, but like I said, most of the stuff, in my perspective, and from the evidences that I've seen when it comes to heart attacks, we're talking about guys that are huge and have been taking enormous dosages for years and years and years.
Yeah.
That's again why I have a problem with the health aspects of this.
Well, honestly, people, and everybody's different. This is anecdotal, but I only started lifting when I was 20, and I'm 27 now. When I took my panels about a year to 18 months ago, so I was probably halfway through my 25th year or something. So I had taken them every year since then, and over the course of about those 5.5, 6 years, I've almost doubled my testosterone blood count. Like, I started lifting at 20 and eating well and eating for to be more anabolic, and I was in a 400 count on my total testosterone count. And as of my last panels, I believe I was like 788 or something. So I've nearly doubled my testosterone. I'm curious to see where it is this year.
Well, you've brought up, by saying that, you brought up another thing that actually raises testosterone levels. Now,
resistance training
is resistance training and heavy resistance training, especially. And that's the thing is this question, you said it was Brian, correct?
I believe so, yeah.
He with this question is based off the idea that he's training anyway, so he's already boosting his testosterone naturally.
Well, he did say he was lifting for 2 years. He said
he had gone from 140 or 145 to 185. Yep. Yeah. So that being all taken into account, that's another huge way that you boost your testosterone levels, and cutting down stress. That's another one that you want to take into consideration, because when you have high levels of stress, cortisol goes way up and your other testosterone levels drop.
When you get your blood panels done, as I recommend you do, check your cortisol as well, and that will give you an idea where that's at, if that's a limiting factor to your natural testosterone production.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, cortisol it's not bad, but it has its place. But when it's at high levels, especially for extended periods of time, it is not good.
Correct. So, cool. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, I think we covered that overall. Like I said, if we want to go into, watch me drop out of the site. If we want to go into this in more detail, which I don't think we're going to, but if we do, we can. I would rather do it in email form and just have a conversation back and forth. I don't have a problem talking about it. I don't have a problem even going in depth on this kind of stuff. But understand that the perspective of, and we're going to use it from the standpoint of metabolic media and metabolic radio. Our perspective is we want you to be legal and intelligent about what you do, and safe.
Yes,
those
and
things.
Educated.
Education goes into both of those two criterias. If you are educated and you do things with an intelligent look on it, you're going to be safe. And so we that's why I'm willing to talk about this in more detail. I've gotten way more into this than Taylor ever will, because it's something I'm highly interested in. But
and one thing to note too is that a lot of people think once they get on gear, it's this magical transformation, and they're like exactly the way that they want to look.
I'm glad you brought that up.
There is a lot of people in your gym that are on gear,
I was going to say,
steroids, that you don't realize are, and they don't look like it, and they don't have that attractive of a body. And there's a lot of people that look like they are, and they not often, but sometimes are natural. And so when you think like, oh, this is going to be the end all be all supplement, like this is what the bodybuilders take, or this is what's like the best seller on this website, or this is the stuff that dude at the gym takes, and even though it's, black market stuff, like I'm going to get huge. Here's the thing, it's so variable and it's so individual, and you don't know what you're taking, or even if you do, there's all these intricate details of how to cycle and use things that, in my opinion, it's a lot of work for sometimes not a lot of gain, and sometimes it is for people. Sometimes they get the benefits they want, but just know it's not going to be like you're going to start taking, some drugs and all of a sudden everything's going to like be magically awesome for you. Just
Right.
it's not this magic bullet mentality with every case. So just use caution, and like Shane said, just we want to say we're happy to talk about it, but as a company, as fitness professionals, we want to point you in the safe route, the wise route. So that's how I feel about it.
Yep. No, I agree with all that. There was one thing I was going to add, but plainly, again, I'm not supposed to talk about it because my brain lost it. So we'll leave it alone.
All right. Well, there you have it, people. If you would like your questions answered on the show, please go to Facebook and type in Metabolic Radio Private Forum. Request to be added to the group. We'll add you to the conversation and answer your questions on the show. Please leave us a 5-star rating and review on iTunes. And also, if you are struggling with nutrition, go check out our nutrition atlas at metabolicradio.com. There, it's very affordable. And what we do is go through our nutrition philosophy and how to teach you how to flexibly diet so that you can have leniency, but also structure in your diet. And it teaches you every individual factor that we know of, and teaches you those formulas on how to not just once calculate your nutritional needs on a personal level, but be able to do that repeatedly again and again as your body changes and adapts. So it's a tool that you can add to your tool belt that will continue to serve you in the future. So check that out at metabolicradio.com, our nutrition atlas.
Boom shakalaka.
All right, people. Peace.